God is talking. Subscribe.
Welcome to the deep dive. We're diving into God is talking. This chapter is all about God's will and free will.
Yeah, it's an interesting conversation with God.
Definitely some twists and turns in this one. What jumped out at you right away?
Well, this isn't like, some boring theology lecture.
Right.
It's playful, back and forth, questions, challenges, even some humor sprinkled in. Makes it easy to grasp these big ideas.
Absolutely. It starts off with, your will is God's will.
Okay.
But then it says, God's will is not necessarily your will.
Oh, yeah.
Now, wait a minute.
Yeah, how does that work?
Can you unpack that a little bit? That seems counterintuitive.
Well, think of it like this. Imagine God's will is a vast ocean, and our individual wills, those are like little boats sailing on that ocean.
Okay, I like that.
So we have the freedom to steer our boats wherever we choose, but we're always within that larger context of God's will. Our choices create ripples in the water, but that ocean itself, it's still vast, encompassing.
Okay, so it's not about us giving up our free will, but about understanding that our choices play out within a larger divine plan, right?
Exactly.
So how do we get our little boats sailing in the same direction as that ocean current? The text lays out these 5 steps to align your will with God's: knowing, accepting, praising, loving, and then owning it. Even one of those, I don't know about you, but even one of those feels like a full-time job sometimes.
Oh, absolutely.
Right there.
The text, it acknowledges it's a process. It's not like a one-and-done kind of deal.
Right.
It's about making those conscious choices moment by moment,
Yeah.
choosing to align ourselves with God's will, even when we get, caught up in those daily dramas of life.
And speaking of drama, it feels like there's often this inner battle between our heads and our hearts when it comes to making choices. The text talks about making conscious choices rather than just, reacting based on things that have happened to us in the past. It even uses this analogy of reenacting versus creating our lives. What does that look like, practically speaking?
So think of it this way. When we just react out of habit, based on our past, it's like hitting the replay button on an old movie. We're just reenacting those old patterns, even if they're not serving us anymore.
Right. We keep watching the same thing.
Exactly. But when we make choices from a place of, real awareness,
Okay.
alignment with our soul, it's like writing a new script.
Ooh.
We become the creators of our own experiences. We're not just the actors replaying those old roles.
So we're not puppets on a string. We're active participants in shaping our reality.
Exactly.
But then that begs the question, how do we even know what our soul truly wants? The text talks about listening to our feelings, that those feelings are the language of the soul, right? But then it says we have to discern between the true feelings and then the ones that our mind just made up. So which ones are we supposed to trust?
Well, imagine your soul is like this, like a wise inner compass. It's always there, guiding you towards your true north. And it speaks to you through those feelings that feel expansive. They're aligned with your deepest values. And when you tap into them, they lead to a sense of peace and purpose.
Like when you're doing something that really lights you up.
Exactly. But our minds, they can create feelings too, right? Based on fear, based on past hurts, or societal conditioning. Those often feel, constricted,
Right.
anxious, doubtful, like you're off track. Mindfulness, that helps us tell the difference. It's like developing this discerning ear for the language of our soul.
So it's about learning to tell the difference between the voice of our soul and all that mind chatter.
Yeah.
Okay. What about when we have negative feelings? Even if they are genuine soul whispers, the text talks about expressing those feelings.
Even the negative ones.
Even the negative ones, but in a loving and compassionate way. I imagine that can be pretty terrifying.
Oh, it can be challenging, for sure. The text uses this analogy. It's beautiful. It's like sending a dove carrying a message. You can train that dove to fly gracefully, gently, even if the person who receives that message chooses not to open it. That's the power of expressing your truth with love.
So you're responsible for how you send the message,
Yeah.
even if you can't control how it's received on the other end.
Right.
I get that. What if we bottle up those negative feelings? Is that really so bad?
Well, the text suggests that unexpressed negativity, it can be like a dam. It blocks the natural flow of our energy. It can show up physically, emotionally, as distress, and it keeps us from experiencing true joy and peace.
So speaking our truth, even when it's hard, is actually an act of self-care.
Exactly. It's about honoring our pre-selves and letting our energy flow.
It seems like this all leads to Christ consciousness. The text says anyone can reach that.
Yeah.
It says it's that state of being one with God that, Jesus showed us.
Right.
It even suggests we can get there by acting like Christ in every single moment. Now, I don't know about you, but walking on water, turning water into wine, seems a little out of reach for most of us.
Yeah, that does sound a bit overwhelming when you put it that way. But the text makes it clear it's not about, like, literally doing miracles. It's more about living with those qualities that Jesus embodied. Love, compassion, forgiveness, that unwavering faith. It's about expressing our own divine nature in how we act every day, how we treat others.
So it's less about, like, the supernatural stuff and more about an inner shift in how we are.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that spark of God within ourselves and everyone around us, and then choosing to act from that place of oneness.
That sounds like a journey, not a destination you just arrive at.
You're absolutely right. The text emphasizes it's ongoing, seeking and choosing over and over again. It's those little everyday choices that add up, choices that align with our best selves.
And it seems like there's so many paths to get there. The text mentions all sorts of ways people connect with God.
Oh, yeah.
Praying the rosary, kissing a stone, bowing to the east.
Chanting.
Chanting, yeah, even swinging a pendulum. It's like a spiritual buffet out there.
You got your rosary beads over here, your meditation cushions over there, then you got your chanting circle in that corner and over there.
Someone swinging a pendulum trying to figure out what to eat.
Yeah, exactly.
It's funny when you think about the variety.
The cool thing is, the text doesn't say one method is better than another.
Right.
It just says, find what speaks to you and stick with it.
So it's not about strict rituals, but about a genuine connection to something bigger than ourselves. Remembering that bit of God that's in all of us.
That's the heart of it. Nurturing that relationship with the divine, whatever feels right for you. It's personal.
So this idea, your will, God's will, it's not about us becoming passive. It's about aligning ourselves with something bigger.
Exactly. It's understanding we're co-creators of our reality. Our choices have power, but we're always playing within this divine context.
It's like our little boats are on this ocean of divine love, and we're figuring out how to sail with the current. We've covered a lot. God's will, free will, listening to our souls, speaking our truth, even when it's hard. We even touched on Christ consciousness. A lot to think about. That's pretty inspiring stuff. So what does all of this mean for you listening right now?
You know, I think this deep dive has really brought home the idea that aligning your will with God's will, it takes effort, conscious effort, and self-awareness, a lot of it.
Yeah, tuning into those whispers from our soul.
And making choices, but from a place of love, not fear, not just habit.
And each of us has to find our own way to connect with the divine, right? Whether that's prayer or meditation chanting or, hey, even swinging a pendulum. Any last thoughts for our listeners as they keep exploring these ideas?
Well, I think it's so important to remember this is a journey. It's not a destination.
Take all for finish line.
Exactly. And the text reminds us God's always there, inside us, closer than our own breath.
It's about recognizing that.
And trusting that we're never really alone on this path.
Beautifully said. Thanks for diving deep with us today. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep listening to that quiet voice inside. Until next time.
Eyes anoint you so light, to light the lights all night.